Good morning, New Eden! Today is September 12th, 2022, and this is the Federation Frontline Report. I'm your host, Frozen Fallout, and today I'm interviewing Nightflyer, who is new to the Faction Warfare experience. We'll also be reviewing the monthly report for Faction Warfare in August. So let's go ahead and just start this off. So how's space been treating you these days, Nightflyer?
Doing pretty good. Kind of busy. Semi AFK the last month or so, but getting back into it. A lot of the guys I fly with have been involved up in with against Frat. So I tried to get into it a little bit up there, and I think I got gate camped and lost my stork. So I bought it in Cheetah, made about 5 jumps, and lost it in gate camp. So didn't spend a whole lot of time up there, but still had some fun trying to do some spear fishing.
It is a difference between gate camping in low sec and gate camps in high sec. Gate camps do definitely happen in low sec, but man, the gate camps are just super nasty out in 0.0.
But yeah, been very active. Noir's on contract right now, so yeah, Alex keeping us busy over there.
Yeah.
Talk more about that a little later.
Yeah, so tell me though, what got you into EVE Online?
I've only been playing about 2.5 years. It was March of 2020. COVID was just starting up, and I was currently working an overnight shift. So on my days off, I try to stay on that schedule. So it was probably about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm on Facebook. And so just to age myself, yes, I still go on Facebook, but that's the only way I know what my aunt had for dinner. So I got to keep hitting that up. As I said, I work overnights, and that's kind of how I had got the name Nightflyer. It's one I was using for most of my handheld games. I did a lot of like Knights of Camelot and Game of Thrones and stuff like that on my phone. So Nightflyer just kind of
solid handle, man. Solid handle.
Carrying over. So I didn't realize that you come to EVE and you can't change your name, so you should pick something stupid. But we can't all have Frozen Fallout. That one was taken, so I'd take something else.
I do love my name.
Yeah, I did see this. So I just saw the ad on Facebook. Thought this was neat. I was actually thinking of playing another space game called like No Man's Sky, maybe.
Yeah, I played a bunch of No Man's Sky. So did you played that as well alongside with this and stayed with EVE, or was it you picked this over and you didn't even play Element? Or
I never even switched over. I got into EVE. I'm like, oh, look, I saw the video, the big wars, the graphics. I'm like, this looks pretty cool. Let me give this a shot. And I'm like, oh, this is like a nice new game. I think I can get into this. And didn't realize the game was like 17 years old at the time. So.
Oh wow! So you didn't even know what you were really getting yourself into.
Yeah, I know. You get a lot of the guys on the podcast and stuff talk about, oh, my roommate in college got me into it and stuff. And well, my Apple IIe in college would not have taken EVE. So, so I got into it late. But I've been into games. I had my Atari 2600, my Nintendo, and my Sega, and all that stuff throughout the years. Got kids. So I got into Halo, big time Halo, and Call of Duty. So a lot of the first person shooter stuff. So EVE was one of those just more immense things.
Yeah, that's a big jump from console gaming to. So is EVE one of your first like MMORPGs then?
Absolutely, yeah, first time, yeah.
Oh wow!
I can't believe I never got into World of Warcraft.
Yeah,
I've got a Dungeons and Dragons background just like you, and
yeah, Dungeons and Dragons. So you're into that. That gets you kind of a feeling a little bit with how immense and crazy EVE Online is, and what you can, depending on the GMs and stuff like that you have. But yeah, if this is your first MMORPG, the thing is that a lot of people, it's almost better, I think, that this is your first MMORPG, because it's one of those things that EVE is so different than World of Warcraft, because you get so used to in World of Warcraft, you just run around and you get slaughtered by some random person, and that's fine. You just go back to if you're playing on the PvP servers or whatever, I guess. And but you go back, you get your body, you got all your equipment again, you go out and you do whatever you want to get, and there's specific areas for that, or tournament style type kind of PvP, and you never lose anything. And EVE Online is one of those games where if you jump into it with this mindset that I'm going to have like the coolest ship ever with the best mods, and I'm going to spend 40 billion ISK on my really cool Chronos, and then somebody scans you and they're like, yeah, 40 billion ISK, I think that we can throw a billion ISK at this thing and blow it up. We're all going to get blown up, but that's fine. Like,
yeah, it's probably one of my biggest issues right now is I'm still risk averse. I just don't want to lose my blingy stuff.
Blingy stuff, even I've been playing for almost 16 years now, so since 2006. So is it 16 years? Yeah, well, October. So in October I'll be 16 years into this game. My blingy shit I am terrified of bringing out. I just like undocked my Chronos, or not my Chronos, my Vindicator, Megathron pirate battleship. And because somebody was camping with a Gnosis sitting on the Yvangir Charmer Route gate, and I was trying to haul in some shit. And I like undocked this thing, and my heart is like pounding because even though it's just a Gnosis, and I should be able to just wipe it out, it's gonna have gate guns on it. I don't know what is lurking around the corner that just appears, because that's the thing about EVE Online is even when you're solo you're worried about getting jumped by a bunch of people in your blingy shit. If you're with a bunch of people, then your blingy shit is the most likely to want to get targeted because not everybody flies bling. So unless everybody is flying bling, or you've really or you have the ability to like jump in a bunch of people to save your bling when you're doing solo, I think a lot of people are adverse to losing their bling. And they only pick battles that they'll win, that they know they're going to win when they're going to be throwing out bling to a certain degree. And bless the hearts of the people who go out there with bling all the time and don't really care. Steve Taylor is definitely one of those people.
Yeah, I love Steve. I love seeing him on. I want to fly with him a little bit more, but I don't want to hold him back. So
Steve is a great guy to fly with. But yeah, so you say that you're risk adverse, but you're not afraid of getting stuff blown up, right? Like you're not when it comes to your non-bling stuff.
Not anymore. It took a long time to get to, though. And I started off in EVE as an explorer. I loved the idea of going in there. Got clobbered a few times and figured, all right, I'll stay in high sec for 6 months, skill up, kind of learn the game a little bit more. And I just remember I would only fit my ships with stuff I could like find off rats.
Mm-hmm.
Like somehow going to the market was a weird thing for me. So that's how I really set up my ships for a while. But
yeah, I remember not knowing what a market hub was, dude. Like, you're like, you gotta fly over here, and then over to there, and then over here, and then 20 jumps over this way, and I'll finally get my stuff. And it's like, I spent so much time in this game just jumping from gate to gate, never knowing that there was this, like, one place for every... I knew about Jeddah, but Jeddah was so far away from where I lived. So
right, yeah, because
like,
we're Galentis, we're on like the other side of space, and Dodixie, well, maybe they got it, maybe they don't, maybe it's twice as much if they do. So, Dodixie has its issues.
Yeah, so you were saying, so you started off in exploration and just kind of like...
Yeah, I went into that, and just so I could afford to explore, I got into doing mining and industry. I joined a corp that was about 6 jumps from the starting station after I got through the starter missions. I had a couple of good pilots in there that were kind of really introducing me to the community and stuff, what it was like to actually verbally talk with people, in game. But that corp fell apart. Leadership wasn't around. They took off. I'd met a guy mining in the same system as I. We were hitting the same anomalies, the ore anomalies that used to spawn back in 2020. Those are great. Loved those. And talked to him about his corp. He's like, come on over, and check us out. So so I moved over with that corp, which spun into Sinner's Research, and I was with them for quite a while. They did some PvP. Kind of taught me a little bit more stuff. I ended up going on my first roam with one of the players with Pen is out.
Okay,
Uh,
yep, I know Penn.
yeah, and it was during the winter solstice event, and I was like one of two guys that didn't get killed on a gate camp because I just turned around and jumped back through and I took off. So again, I don't know if that was risk averse or just smart.
That's
I think it's
smart.
because I was slow jumping through. The beginning guys are like, "What gate are we going to? How do we?"
Yeah,
I
just a
think it was the
little
fact
bit
I didn't
behind.
know what I was doing actually saved my life. So, uh, but he took it, and of course we had UD'd and we were, God knows, 80 jumps from the closest like high sec system, and so he introduced me to Thera at that point. So
Oh
no
yeah.
idea what it was, didn't have anything, so I literally just had to kind of follow him from wormhole to wormhole. But he got me back to Jita, and but through that whole thing, I mean, it was just a great experience. I love the camaraderie, I love the communication, I love just the interaction. It really was a lot better than shooting rocks.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, this is what Eve is supposed to be. Shooting rocks is relaxing, and as an old man, it's something that I can kind of still kind of chill to. But yeah, Eve. I think is about PvP, and I think it was on Less Than 10 podcast. I could be wrong, but they were saying like they referred to as mining is where you go when you don't want to play Eve. You're just too invested in the game.
Yeah,
I don't
it's I well, okay, so I think that mining goes along with it if you're treating it like a chat program, which a lot of people do. Like you just have chat, chat up in the background, you talk to people, you're in a spaceship, you're shooting some rocks, you're making some money, or you're hauling. I have one of my buddies who would just haul shit everywhere, all over the place, take contracts and get in the hauler channel and stuff like that, and you just make random friendships. You use it as like a
know.
social kind of interaction, which is great. And I think that's one of the beating hearts actually of Eve, is this group of people who play Eve just to kind of mine and hang out in low sec and stuff like, or in high sec, and have this like social things. But at the heart of Eve, I have to agree, is PvP. Once you're just really starting to interact with people on like there's an enemy that I have on the other side, is where Eve kind of comes to life a lot more.
Yeah, absolutely. And once I had the bug, that was pretty much it. They said I was just kind of mining and stuff because I wanted to build stuff. We were getting the blueprints. I needed, minerals. I needed stuff. I got into doing PI because I needed stuff and I just didn't want to buy it. So I just figured, I'll solo kind of some of this stuff. But yeah, I was just getting kind of frustrated with that. So when I got into the PvP and I got that bug, I'm like, all right, we got to go blow some stuff up. So I flew with Eve Uni for a little bit. Great time. Learned so much from those guys about taking gates and picking fights.
Yeah,
Probably
Eve
should have spent a little more time with those guys.
Eve
But
Uni seems like a really good group. I've only interacted with them as being somebody getting shot at or shooting at them, but I use their wiki for everything, and it's
yeah,
something I would
right.
say any new beginner in Eve, get on the Eve Uni wiki. Pretty much look up anything on Google regarding Eve Online and the like mechanics or most things about EVE Online. The first thing you'll come to is the EVE University website. I'm so grateful for what they've done. So you had a
Yeah,
good time with them, but you
and
felt.
yeah, I needed a little bit more. Like 'cause my corp was still. I mean, some of the guys did PvP, but they kind of stopped playing. And they kind of drifted, which was kind of sad because it was my first kind of group of guys that we routinely would meet up and talk and do stuff, and we would have our little tournaments and stuff. So I would have our again just learning how to fight, learning the mechanics of how to kite, and the differences of
Did
just
you
what
guys
the
ever go to
ability to do.
the test server for any of your stuff?
Yeah, for sure. We go to Tranquility and we'd set stuff up. We'd start with frigates, work our way through destroyers, and just you guys would meet at a point in space, and yeah, you'd kind of go at it. And we just do kind of a round robin of who could take that. So it was fun. It was a good setup, and I was kind of disappointed. That's eventually why I left that corp. But I flew with some streamers. There used to be Sassmouth. She's a German streamer, really nice. She had a fleet. Got my first solo kill in that
Ooh.
fleet. So yeah, I love that one.
What was
And
it? Do you remember the story of the first kill?
uh, yeah, we got totally stream sniped. We were gonna meet in some section just outside of Dixie. Got into low space, and someone brought in a fleet of Gnosis, as I know, as you and I love those ships. So, but
Yes.
they just wiped us out. We just got destroyed, and so we're like, all right, well, let's go do it again. So, I jumped into a destroyer, um, and we ended up somewhere in nullsec. Trying to go through the map in my head, but it doesn't matter. But we got through a camp, got dropped on by some guys from Karma Fleet, and just had a frigate pull away from the group. And I'm like, all right, so just let them have it. So uh, yeah, real quick. So that was fun. And again, it was just one of those things that just kind of pushed me for that bug. I did a Bjorn fleet, and this was fun.
Oh yeah.
So I get into I was late, so I had to play catch up, and
Oh, that's always fun.
I know it's in a great.
What kind of ship were you in?
I was in the thorax, so we
Okay,
were
so not
GPS thorax.
horribly horrible, but man, that can it's like the bigger you get, the more like it's like a battleship you're like trying to chase up and get. It's like every time they warp or they say a new system, it's like, damn it, I was like one I was like right behind you. Slow down.
Oh, that was it. And I ended up getting like 28 jumps behind them. I remember I was like, so because they kept killing stuff and moving on, and I'm still trying to find them, and so you gotta like kind of okay, well, what system are they in now? I got I'm not picking up the comms, and anyway, 28 jumps, catch up with them just as I get through the gate and start warping. They break into a fight. I land. Um, I anchor on Bjorn, and I'm the first ship targeted. And that's it. So they send me back to Jita, and I'm like, oh, 86 mil, 28 jumps. Beautiful. That was awesome. Let's do it again. So, but I think it was Eve Uni and who are the guys that do the frigate free for all? God, I'm sorry, those guys. Their names escape me right now.
Are you talking about the NPSI group? The
Yeah.
Wow, my brain is.
I know. Like
I'm
I'm either not drinking enough or I've drank too much today.
That is the so there's Fun Incorporated, but then there's also Spectre Fleet. Would it be Spectre?
No, it was like I said. They hand out the ships in low sec, and no, it's not Band Brothers. God, I can't believe I'm forgetting the name. Anyway, those guys are great. And it was just that opportunity to just burn through ships where they, 17 frigates later. And like, all right, I kind of cured myself of kind of losing my ships. I'm like, all right, this is fine.
Yeah.
So, but again, still had that PvP bug, and I'm like, all right, well, my corp's not doing it, so I gotta find a corp that's doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And been a long time listener, of 2 years of Declaration of War, and so I went on their channel Noir or Cafe Noir dot and just hit somebody up. They interviewed me, took me out on a fleet, sent me through their university, and yeah, like 6 months later, I was in Noir. Like so,
Solid, man. That sounds like
yeah.
a good. So you found your way through. You got to this, and then. So can you explain a little bit? What does Noir do?
We're a mercenary group. So our corp leader, Alec, or Alexia Carr. I'm sure if you listen to his podcast, it's the longest running podcast.
That's the Declaration of War, right?
Declaration of War, yeah. And so people will contract to us to assist them. So if they're doing wormhole evictions, sometimes we're just bodyguarding mining fleets. Sometimes we're taking down passes or stations. Or mercenaries. If you're willing to pay enough money, talk with Alec, and he will. Where we shine is if you have ops that you want to plan, but if you needed just another 10, 15, 20 guys.
Hmm.
Um, we just help bulk up your numbers. But the last couple of contracts we've had, it was just us solo doing stuff for the employer. And the employers are always anonymous. I never know who they are, where the money comes from. And you're not going to get rich doing it unless you're like really good and really active. So, I mean, I have made 800 mil on contracts, but others I've made none. But they do ship replacement too. So
How
kind
does that work exactly? How would you get paid out money for flying around with Noir?
of, they have a system. It's all based on how much the contract is for. But usually it's voted on by the players of who's got the most kills, who was the most influential FC, who was the best E-War, who was the best this. They pick the top 10 players and everybody gets a cut.
Oh, that
So
is cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
and again, it's about content. I'm not good at finding content. That's the thing I'm really struggling with, which is why I got into faction warfare, and we can talk about. But yeah, it was Alex the man, and he sets the things up, and the FCs get us in place, and we take the ships, meet here, and let's do our thing.
Yeah. So no meaning says was it maybe a band apart or Stay Frosty?
That was them. Thank you so much. Absolutely, those guys are fantastic. I said I did that last year too, or I guess that would be this year. But that's a great thing for any new pilot if you just want to get into PvP. I'm sure they'll have one coming out early next year, and it's just a way to kind of cycle through, getting a ship, blow ships up, get yours, get another one. So really appreciate those guys and what they've done for me in this game.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah, glad thank you no meaning for shouting that out there. This is why having a live audience is actually kind of
That's right.
That's what it's all for right
We
there.
need a live audience. That's what it is.
They help us. So yeah, so you went down the route recently of faction warfare. So tell me just a little bit about what was your kind of introduction to faction warfare? What have you been thinking about since you've been in there?
Like I said, I was in Noir. I think I'm good in groups, in those group fights, especially the small gangs, 10, 15, some of the bigger battles. But it's that solo, that one-on-one kind of thing, trying to find. I'm still kind of lacking at. Still learning what a lot of the ships can do, like what the matchup is, and faction warfare is really good with that aspect of it. Like I know this ship cannot fight against that ship. I'm not gonna last. Sometimes I'll still take that fight just because it's a way to blow up a ship.
Yeah, and
Hey,
you never know. Sometimes they're
You
idiots, you
never
know.
know. And
Some
maybe
people
they
fuck
need
up
to
all
be
the time.
I know that's me. But yeah, I was actually flying with one of the guys in the Noir, JK. Miss you, brother. I hope you can come back soon. And he's like, "Yeah, this is how I cut my teeth. Is we were bouncing around faction warfare space." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And started kind of looking into it more, and start running those headaches right off the bat. Like I'm not leaving Noir, which I busted my ass to get into. I mean,
Yeah.
attending classes and it was hard back in that time. So I'm not dropping my corp to do that. So I had to create an alt, which means I had a crap, a brand new player.
Brand new, yeah. With EVE Online, you can't just like rush your character through to level 60. You've got to actually like spend the weeks or a bunch of ISK or a bunch of real life money to extract a whole bunch of skills and put them in them. And so have you gone the route just of just putting him in as an Omega, or have you started off as an Alpha? How'd you come in with your alt?
I started off with my alt. Well, once I figured out actually how to get into faction warfare, where you're actually getting LP and stuff.
Right. Yep.
Which needs to get explained a little bit better.
Yeah. Have you done the new tutorial recently? Because I think that they do have a thing that I'm kind of messing around with it right now. And I think they do have a thing that starts pointing you towards faction warfare and how to get into it.
Yeah, I actually got into it. I started up a 5th alt, and but I don't remember him getting much into it. I remember him kind of mentioning it, but I think that's really what I was hoping this new player experience thing would do, is kind of push you into faction warfare as the last chapter of your thing. Because if you're looking at like the role play aspect of this game, that there's got to be a reason why these factions are making capsuleers. So
Hmm.
what's the point of it? They're not going to make you a capsuleer and then just send you off to space, let you do whatever you want. I mean,
Just go
they've got to
become
want
gods
something
in
for you. I mean,
the.
that's the way the universe works, right? Everybody wants something from you. So that would make sense. The Galenti are going to say, okay, here's a pilot. We'll make him capsuleer. Let's push him out. And he can fight for us. And I really think that's something that they should have done with this last expansion of the that new player experience. And I think they're missing the boat again on this, where like when you graduate the academies or you go through those starter missions, you should get something for it, like a little medal, little pin.
Oh
It can't
yeah.
be bought, it can't be traded. It's just something that's going to be attached to your character. And then when you get into faction warfare, well, you get a uniform, because now you got something to put your pins on. And so, you know, as you go through the ranks and hey, you make lieutenant, well, now you got a little better uniform. And again, you can't sell them, you can't trade them. They're assigned
Yeah.
to your character.
Kind of like what they're saying the heraldry system is going to be for some of our
Yeah.
skins and stuff like that, but making that for like a clothing item as well would be kind of cool.
Yeah, you do the Sister of Eve's arc, you get a little pin, sits on your uniform somewhere. I don't know. And again, that was my kind of thought. And I just thought that would kind of expand the game a little bit. You know, the player, they had the old tracking system that I couldn't see any purpose for it. Like, I don't care if I was a level 5 miner, it didn't mean anything to me. I didn't get anything for it. At least now, you know, you're getting a little, you're getting some modules.
Yeah, the air system
I like the new air
is
system's a little better.
That's a little bit better. I like that getting killed and killing people gets you like some ISK and stuff like that. It's not a lot, but I mean, I remember when I first started, and so this is, I mean, of course, inflation and all this other stuff, but back in 2006 when I really started playing the game, I really remember being like a million ISK. I just got a million ISK, like, oh my god, like I found this item, I sold it, I got a million ISK for it, now I'm gonna go buy all these skill books, and all these, I can build up my ship a lot better, I might be able to get like, you know, like a, you know, couple ships to have to my side and stuff like that I can do some other stuff with, and I was like super excited just for that first million, and I'd already been in the game for like a couple weeks, you know, like
Yeah, I remember
maybe a week.
The first time I actually used a real market, not just the local market. I loaded up a ship with all the stuff I had from doing exploration and ratting, and it was like 7 mil. And I'm like, oh man, I got to get this to Dixie. I got to, you know, I can't sell this stuff locally. It's not selling. So I remember just white knuckling it all the way to Dixie through high sec, of course, too, yeah, but you got that 7 mil, and I thought I was God. I'm like, oh man, look at that. The ISK is piling up. 7 mil.
Unbelievable. That's more than I've made in a long time.
But yeah, having those little things out, I mean, at least maybe it covers the cost of ammo on some of this stuff, especially now, you know, you were getting into the Tech 2 ammo and the faction ammo, and
Yep. Yeah, it does rake up that. Yeah, that makes things a lot. I remember every time I look at my cargo, I'm like, why do we have millions in? Oh, my ammo. Never mind. That's why. But yeah, I do think that you know, I'm really excited for the upcoming expansion. I was really kind of taken aback when they said November now, because I was all excited for September, but apparently September is just when we're going to be getting some new ships, which I'm really excited about regardless. I mean, that's because everything's hinting towards faction destroyers, and I hope they do. Yeah. The only way to get these is through faction warfare, and
yeah, that would be cool. Well, and Aurora was talking too. It's just like I could be making this up, but she said something about like your faction would have a bonus if you're flying a faction ship. So maybe you get an extra % if I'm in a faction ship with the faction I'm part of.
Yeah, so I mean,
that would be awesome.
That would be pretty cool. If because they have that for the Edencom ships, right? Like, you have to have a certain percentage in order to get certain standings with Edencom in order to get the full bonuses from the Edencom ships. And I could see doing something like that for faction ships. But yeah, I'm interested to see what they do with faction ships. They've got the heraldry system that they're going to be kind of doing out that'll make things kind of cooler looking for the ship itself. And then they've got the expansion that comes in November, though. So ships this month, next month is the heraldry system, and then November is going to be when we get the rework. And this I'm super excited about. Like, I think I'm just like holding my breath for when this happens, because I think the biggest change for me, if you're watching, you can see up in the, you know, right hand corner of, like, right next to where you can see us, is the tier system for faction warfare, where if your side is winning, you get to make more money, or more LP, basically, that is worth more money for running sites or doing missions and stuff like that. And one of the big things I think that is kind of a problem is that it is really tied into missions as well, as owning, or as plexing. So the winning side wins more and more and more until they win too much, and then it slides back over to the other side because market forces come into play, and it's like, well, now your LP is worth shit because you made so much of it. And if you just let off for a little bit and throw all of your alts into the other side, then they can boost up that side, make some money off of it. And no matter, I've been in faction warfare since the very beginning, and never has there been a time where it's 100% it's always back and forth. Like, even recently this year we had tier 4 status as Galente. You know, it just goes back
for a minute.
and forth. Now the one thing is that usually one side is dominating that pendulum. So for a long time it was the Galente were dominating it, back in the original days of the tier system. Now things have switched over to the Caldari, have a strong push, and have been doing really well. Don't get me wrong. They didn't let us have it for very long. The market forces only worked for so long. And there's maybe reasons for a lot of different things, but I think that in the end, it's stupid to be the winning side gets more money. It should be where you're fighting is where the money is to be made. So if you want...
Agree. Yeah, right. There should be an incentive to being active.
Right. Yeah, there should be, well, and it should also be active in the area that other people are going to go shoot you. Because depending on where, like right now, for the Galente, we can go and make LP at the 50%. It kind of sucks, but you can make it anywhere. And it's all over the place. There's tons of systems that the Galente or the Caldari are not guarding, that nobody is doing anything in. You can make the crappy 50% LP. For the Caldari, there are a couple systems that we're not guarding, but pretty much because there's so little of the war zone to go plex in, their systems that they plex in are going to be more dangerous to a certain degree. Offensive plexing for the Caldari is a little bit harder right now. Problem is that missions make way more LP in that case then. So you just start doing missions at level 4 missions. If it's all about where you're fighting and not what tier you're at, hopefully missions get reset to just be, they get the normal 100% value of, you know, which is okay kind of ISK. But if the Warzone frontline system is giving out, you know, a 50% or 100% or 200% bonus to how much LP that you're making, that'll be huge. People want to actually fight in the war zone and not be doing missions all day. And completing a plex inside the war zone will be worth something to both sides, basically. And they'll have the 5-man plexes that they're going to be having, so it allows for a small group to actually make some LP together. Because like right now, if you get 5, 10, 15 people together, no Plex is worth anything, even at the highest percentages and stuff like that. You're not doing it for LP at that point
Yeah, I
anymore.
didn't realize that it got split. I think you were sitting in a Plex and Mango jumped in, uh, like towards the end. And I mean, I know you don't care, but again, I didn't realize that. Oh wow, yeah, I just he did all the work and I just split the LP with them. So I didn't realize that was a thing. So that's a new thing.
It is something that you can piss off some people. Like you become people get really pissed off at LP stealers that just follow around a person, and especially like the bigger plexes and stuff like that. That they'll go with a frigate that can't do anything, and just follow around a cruiser that's going around doing offensive plexes and possibly spying on you. So. So no meaning says, I actually don't want to fight in the war zone because the tier system hurts rewards for the losing side so much. Can't wait for front lines. Yeah, in general, the whole thing on that is just so stupid. Front lines is going to be awesome because it's all about, is it on the front line of the war zone? Yes, then it's worth more LP. I really want to see, what do you think about these? You have to drop structures that'll make it so that when you're pushing a size system, it pushes it faster. These propaganda.
Yeah, the propaganda things. I think that's kind of great. And they were even talking about like you could do shipping. Oh, if you could bring ammo up to these stations or whatever, you can get stuff. And with Mango Pizza is a newer character. I actually took over. My daughter named it, so it was her character.
It's a great name, man.
I'm like, yeah, I gave you 1,000,000 skill points, so I'm gonna use that for faction warfare. So I took over. But yeah, she named Mango Pizza. So I jumped in that and joined faction warfare, and yeah, I'm kind of. But she's still new. She's only 3-4 months old. I think she just broke a 5 million skill points or whatever. So she's still learning to fly stuff. And so if she can have this thing, well, hey, if I can buy this, 10,000 ISK, pamphlet, drop it in space somewhere, and at least, kind of contribute, be part of the fight. That'd be something. So I'm not going to do by myself if I can't fleet up, until the times where she can kind of train up and, actually be able to contribute more,
Yeah. Yeah, it does take a lot of skills too. You got to get those magic 14 down. Frigates, frigates, you can become pretty competitive even in solo play at if you max pretty much out your alpha's ability. But it is one of those things that I'm looking forward to as well. It'll like limit the faction. So I mean, because just having a faction ship and not a pirate ship is pretty important because you're kind of given faction ships through faction warfare. Like there should even be a little bit of I think they should be giving out one-time prizes for every time that you hit a thing. Here's some more PvP ships for you to just go get blown up or something like that. But in any case. You get a bunch of these faction warfare ships from doing faction warfare missions and plexes. You get LP, and so you can use that pretty easily to get into faction ships pretty early. And then you don't have to worry about a Dramule or a worm, coming and just eating you alive like you didn't exist.
Yeah, and that's my big thing right now is still being ISK poor that way. So I'm not trying to fund her endeavors so much with my main because he's got to buy, hurricanes and stuff like that. So typhoons, I just bought a typhoon, so I'm a little poor at the second. But yeah, I think it'll help balance off. They're trying to rebalance this now with the complexes where you have the T1s versus the navies versus the T2 and the pirate factions. And, because that's my big problem is I can't afford any of the pirate faction stuff. I can get into some of the Navy stuff, maybe a couple of the T2s, but not so much. So I'm still flying a lot of T1. And I'm just getting forced out of plexes a lot, because like I said, that worm comes in. I can't compete with it at all. So if I stay, I'm going to die. And
Yeah,
It would be nice to
sometimes.
kind of have that novice system even balanced out a little bit, where you have like the novice, the T1 novice, or something
Yeah,
like that.
I'm okay with it being up to faction ships, like I said, because you kind of are given faction ships. But it would be nice if they had like the like newbie, like this is like the not a novice, like this is like the for new players. Really, this is where you want to go. And if you want to fight in T1 only, no Tech 2 items, no implants, no nothing. Like if they could find a way to check all of that stuff and not allow you to go into the Plex because of that, and you just have to go with T1 ships, I think that would be helpful, because you'd find a lot of people then running around in T1 ships to try and get into these Plexes, and it really would give the newbie a chance.
Yeah, and as a new player in faction warfare with this new account, that's all I'm looking for. Is like I said, I want to be competitive. I want to be able to get into a Plex and get a fight that I actually stand a chance of winning. And so, um, if that balance does help, that would be great. Um,
Yeah, and I think one thing is more people that you get in, like the more that they're getting newbies into it and it becomes a newbie zone, like it's more likely that you can get newbies versus newbies. There is a problem that we have right now, is that there is a gluttony of old players, pirates, and people in faction warfare that are like myself, who are playing in faction warfare and have my skills up. Now, one thing is that I don't do that a lot of other people will do implants, faction items. You abyssal mod out your ships, and you have the most expensive, blingiest. You've got 2-3 billion in your pod. You got like 2 to 3 billion in your ship, no matter what size it is.
right? Yeah. There's a well-known Keldari, pilot that does that. So.
Those who shall not be
I won't mention
named.
him. Yeah. But when he pops up on grid, you better take off. Yeah, you can beat his ship. You're not going to beat his pod.
Yeah, no, and those are the things. Drugs to like the synthetic, the small cheap drugs, I kind of understand. Yeah, but Steve, you have like blingy ass shit, but you're like pure solo. Like you don't really have people coming and backing you up like with a big ass Sino drop and shit like that. So like you take on like 5 guys at one time to try and kill a couple of them, and you're willing to do that. But
don't make it wrong. I'm all about the easy fight, man. I tell you, if I can outgun you and I can, just blop you myself, that's awesome. I will do that.
Yeah, I just don't want to spend a
to
lot of money on it.
But yeah, but I don't like when it happens to me. So
yeah, well, when you kill those people, though, is also
Yeah.
when you get really excited. You're like, oh my god, 5 billionist ship, I got the 2 billionist pod. Oh, this is gonna be awesome.
There's something about taking down that big ship. I remember the first Paladin I took down was with Spectre Fleet, and we were in a Cormorant, or Caracal Fleet, and we took down a Paladin, and man, I was glowing. My eyes were like, so I was like, oh my god, this is so awesome.
Yeah, so when bling usually gets dropped out by numbers, and I'm always afraid, like I said before, like I'm afraid to bring bling into a fleet battle, because they know, well, there's the bling guy, so we'll shoot the blingy, and it'll pay for the entire fleet going down. So, but if you can get your pod out a lot in faction warfare space and low sex combat, which is one of the tempting things to get a pod. The only reason why I don't is because it's so quick to die and then be back at your station, and then you can go anywhere, so you don't have to worry about podding home.
I was actually spending a lot of my LP on implants, so you get the sharpshooters or gunslingers. Is that what they're called? Something like that. For the implants in the LP store. Yeah. So again, just those couple of 2-3% kind of helped out. But yeah, I actually forgot I was in my pod that had them, and I got my ship got destroyed. And I just sat on grid going, all right, send me home, and they sent me home, and I was like, oh, son of a gun.
Yep.
That's 5 mil gone. So
that's not that bad though.
For a newer player who doesn't have a real revenue stream.
True.
outside of ratting. So, um, that's probably where I got to get into the most right now is trying to create that revenue streams for my alts. Like, where are they going to get their money from that they're not taking from Papa? You know?
Yeah, no, and that's and right now I'm, because like getting punched in the face with the 50% LP payout right now, and the way it's been for pretty much for the last like year or two for Galente is a little bit of time that we get with tier 4, and then it'll go back. And I'm also looking for fights more often than trying to make LP. And
Yeah, for sure.
so I'm not trying to like do plexes in order to make money. I don't really have like a good money revenue stream, but I do have like 3 million in LP from just building it up slowly over time, not even trying.
That's like Samson did. He's like, I don't know. I went out and bought like 100 comets or something.
Right.
Like, all right. Oh, can I have one? He's like, sure. So, I love that guy. Hope he comes back soon.
Yeah, he's been popping on and doing some stuff sometimes. I haven't seen him in a while actually though, but yeah, he's on a pretty big
According
vacation.
to your Discord, he's on vacation. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah, enjoy your vacation and
Yeah,
come back when you come back.
he was he had a birthday celebration just recently too, so.
But I never learned how to game the LP system. I don't, like I said, I collect the stuff and I try to buy the things that I need. I haven't really figured out how do I use my LP to make ISK.
The only thing that
I haven't really researched it much either, so.
The big one that I have is, or that I just do is the ships. It's about 1 million LP for 1,000, or sorry, 1 million ISK per 1,000 LP. You can get a little bit more than that or a little bit less than that depending on some of the stuff that you can buy, but usually ships sit right around that area, and so that makes, you know, like right now a novice worth 5 million ISK per novice, so 10 minutes of your time offensive, you know, maybe 12 minutes of your time killing the rat. But if you're at the, you know, the Kaldari side, when they do an offensive site, they get, you know, at tier 3 that they're at right now. Oh, they're actually, right now, currently they are at tier 2, it looks like. So they are actually just getting 10,000 LP points, so 10 million ISK from doing that. Because ships sell quick, and they're easy to get. You just do the, you get the ship that you're going to be churning into that, and a chip for it, and you put them together, and you get a ship out of it. And the only thing that sucks is transporting shit around. So either A, you buy inside of the station at overinflated prices, because like Valor usually has the stuff there, the ships there, but they're just expensive comparatively. So you lose a little bit of your profit margins to a small degree, but you still make a huge profit. And then selling in station, once again, much slower if you can't get it to Jeddah. So you've got to either contract that stuff out, or you have to have your own hauler.
Yeah, and the fact we can't use Old Man Star right now to transport blingy stuff, we got to fix that. That's got to be a Gelno priority, I think.
Yeah, Old Man Star being controlled by the Kaldari is kind of crazy. Hauling services are so cheap in comparison, it saves a lot of trouble just to have them do it. Yeah, so especially for the sizes that you're looking for, you're not looking for, you know, freighter full of shit to kind of move. You can make an insane amount of comets, like 20 some odd, you know, 20 plus, I think. You can fit into a deep space transport, so you can have them ship in the incursuses. The chip that you need for it is really cheap, and you can get it in like Dodixie or Jeddah space, and those are really light, so you can move those really easy, or have the hauling service move that as well, and you can put them all and then get them transported over to Jeddah, and then they'll sell within like a couple days.
Yeah, that's the other thing they need to fix is the fact that either we need to find a way to balance out these other markets or make it Cheetah accessible to faction warfares. So
Yeah, making Jita accessible to faction warfare is a really hard thing to do, but also it does give a weird, unfair advantage. I mean, the thing is, to a certain degree, though, I almost like to teach it this way: is that even the Kaldari don't have it easy inside of Jita. Like, there are a lot of people who know how to game the system to a certain degree and will shoot you outside of Jita with their Galente alts.
no, absolutely.
But make Dodixie great again. Yeah, I would really wish Dodixie would great again, though. I don't know when Dodixie's ever been great comparatively to Jita, but Dodixie is a great space to sell. I would say that. We just need more people selling in Jita or in Dodixie in order to make Dodixie better. And people will make more of a profit selling in Dodixie if they do, because Jita is actually not the best place to sell your shit, because there's so much competition going on there. There's a lot of demand, but there's an insane amount of supply as well. And everybody knows to sell their shit there. So when you sell somewhere else, you can put up a decent price hike. Now what I want to see is Jovangir, Jägermeister. We get that system to be filled with ships and items that are PvP oriented would be awesome.
Yeah, I've got half a hangar full of crud I've collected, ratting and stuff. Maybe I'll throw some stuff on the market, so we'll pad it a little bit.
Right.
But hey, that's why we're a player-driven economy. If the players want, these systems to be better, then they need to use those systems. We can't keep shipping stuff out to, Jita. We gotta, you want to Dixie, then use to Dixie. Sell your stuff there, and more people that do that, the better off it's gonna be.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a lot of hope. I'm really looking forward to the expansion. We'll see what this kind of how this shakes things up. If it can, faction warfare can stop being a pendulum swing of back and forth, and there's just systems you go make money in that are dangerous as fuck to go make money in. Mission running is still kind of a fun thing that you can kind of do, but it doesn't pay out insane when you're on the winning side. That's not a so No Meaning says that's not a bad place to build an FW market. One jump out of Charmer has NPC stations with research and invention. Yep, and manufacturing. The only thing it doesn't have is doesn't have a jump clone in Charmer Out or in Jägermeister. But the one thing too is that it's one jump out from faction warfare, so it's not actually in the faction warfare zone, so it can never be conquered by the Kaldari, which is why I love Jovangir. The bad thing though also is that it's a pipe into Hey Die Less. So in Hey Die Less, you can have gate camps and stuff like that, and people trying to stop you from easily knowing if that becomes like a big pipe of people coming out of there. People are going to want to gate camp that station. But you have two directions that are, or three, every into Hey Die Less is very dangerous, and usually coming from you've got Fliet that comes in. That's a big faction warfare place. You've got a Boon that goes up towards the Nisawa and Tama pipe, so that's a pretty active place. And actually I don't see too many gate camps it's dangerous to gate camp in Hades. It's so
yeah, it's a double-edged sword. Yeah, sometimes you can pay off, but sometimes, yeah. You were flying. When did you stream last? Because you were flying out there, and you're not gate camping, but you were engaged on a gate. I think you were with Galmill Fleet.
Oh yeah.
And then all those guys jumped in, and you're like, "Oh, let's go."
Yeah.
So the last time you were streaming, so I was like, "Oh yeah, there you go. That's Hydalis right there. It's in a nutshell."
Yeah, you got to be careful. It's an interesting place. I love it because it's just, you undock, you go to Hadalese, Old Man Star, Fleet, any of those areas right now, and it's just there's fights to be had every 20, 30 minutes, easy.
Yeah, and and that kind of goes back to the people that want to scream the skies fall in this game is dying. And I can't argue the numbers in space, but you'll go over the numbers later in the stream here. And people are still in space. People are still shooting each other. I mean, I get blown up all the time. So
Yeah.
I know it happens. So again, I think there's different aspects of the game that may need some massaging. And I'm hoping this faction warfare change is one of those things that does push this game into that positive direction that people are looking for and want to come back to.
Yeah.
So we know there's activity. If you want fights, you can find fights. You're not going to get them in nullsec like you used to.
Yeah, I guess one of the
you're going to
big
get them here in low sec. I mean, they say you can go to Hills, you can go Old Man Star, you go to Fillet. You're going to find a fight. Someone's going to fight you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would say that one of the big things that'll be huge for improving faction warfare is when they bring in the you can be not in a faction warfare corporation and participate in faction warfare. And I really wonder what that's going to be like, because there's going to be I think that's going to be one of the hardest things for them to do, and it would be really helpful for faction warfare if people didn't have to join faction warfare corporation.
Yeah, I would have got into it a lot sooner had that been an option.
Right, and then you can bring in your main for a moonlight session and stuff like that, and not actually have to leave your corporation. But the problem that we end up having is that, well, does that mean that you're going to shoot your corp mate? Because what if your corp mate is in the joins the Keldari, and you join the Galente?
Well, yeah, and that's it. The unintended consequences of change. You can all have as much positive, but there's going to affect something on the other end, and that's something that we've, the community has talked about a bit. CSM has brought this up, I know, on a couple of their podcasts and streams, and I don't know how you work out the mechanic. Like I said, I'm in Noir. We got people from all parts of space, and so how do we do that? Especially we've kind of had that. How do we work on contract? We've been contracted out by CalMill, and so I'm like, all right, well, Mango's got to sit on the sidelines while I got a contract out. It's just what we're doing now. So, so I'm not gonna play both sides of the fence there. Or be a spy. I can't do that to myself. Again, it's just integrity, I guess. But and again, I don't know how you fix that aspect of the game right now. But there's got to be a way to figure it out. Maybe it's a matter of clicking a button, going, yeah, this ain't gonna affect me. Then I accept the consequence of this if I take part in this.
Yeah, well, I think that's one of the big things is just that it's the overview's kind of already set up to be that way. I think that a war target would be over your being in corporation or whatever, but basically that once you've joined faction warfare, once you turn that flag on, basically you've picked your side, and if somebody's not faction warfare, or they are faction warfare on the enemy side, your corporation, in your corporation, well, you're probably going to be shooting them, and that's okay. Your corporation will just have to deal with that.
Well, again, I think we're all adults here, except for the kids that play the game. It's just the hat that you're wearing at that time, and I think you guys we as players have to understand that that's a role. If you're going to take part in faction warfare, it's like MPSI. I'm part of a fleet. I'm sorry you're blue to me. No hard feelings. And if you really feel sad about it, then hey, here's your ship. I got ISK. I'll cover your damages. But
right.
It's what the players. What do they want to do? Again, I'm just all for it. I want to come out with my buddies. I want to have fun. I want to fly with you guys and the rest of the guys in CalMill. And again, it's just what I enjoy. And if I have to shoot a blue, I'll shoot a blue. I mean, but it's not my goal. It's not my goal. So
No, yeah, and that's I really like. I've been having a lot of fun in Gal Mills standing fleets as of late, just kind of flying around with them. They've been letting me stream with the voice comms off and stuff like that. So, um, and it's been
Yeah,
fun just flying around, and you just get involved in some fights, and you call people. You know, you catch something, you're able to call people in to help you. They catch something, you get called in. You can get into like the 20-man flight fights that happen, but there isn't usually like, unless it's like maybe an IHUB bash, but normally like a Citadel bash that you might get into like the hundreds, you know, maybe.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, I definitely like. Well, I think when I see you stream and I'm playing, um, I think you'll see me pop on grid a couple of times.
Yeah.
Like, oh, what's he doing? Oh, he's in a fight. Okay, let me see if I can. Oh, he's got his hands full. Let me see if I can hop in and whatever. Usually, you've kind of cleaned up stuff before I can get there, but.
Well, yeah, this is the nature
thanks,
of it's really hard with those fights usually to get somebody to help you, depending on which ship I'm flying. But in smaller ships, it's like you've got about a minute and a half of fighting that's happening, and it takes like a minute to warp almost anywhere. Like,
Yeah, right.
It just takes a minute to get somewhere.
Yeah, but you helped me out on a gate. We were in fleet. We kind of splintered out. This is a couple of weeks ago, where our initial fleet, it's broken into two, where the other half went someplace else, and we kind of stayed in that Hades area and Old Man Star. And I was in my thorax, just kind of sitting at a gate, and had somebody come through, and I called it out, and like, you were the only one that showed up. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, oh, I've actually got this guy. I outgunned him, and I think you got like one round of rockets off of your stabber, and I'm like, not a solo kill. I'm like, God damn it.
I remember that.
Thank you. Like, so I appreciate you jumping in, but damn it.
You called for help. You got help. You didn't need the help, but
I thought there'd be more hopping in.
Oh, and that's
because who's this one guy that's gonna hop through? Like, say, what are you, crazy? And then you're gonna take me. You're in a frigate, even a faction frigate, but I'm in a destroyer. I'm gonna I'm out DPS you, so I can pilot a little bit.
It's always a fun. Those are like, I like going against cruisers in assault frigates, because the assault frigate definitely has some solid tank, and if it gets underneath your guns, can totally fuck you. But if you can play with them and get them to do something stupid, they can die. And then like same thing goes with like a destroyer versus like a faction frigate. Like a faction, like a Kaldar, or a like Kaldar Navy Hookbill, or a Navy Comet will be able to kill a lot of destroyers, but it's very possible they just get out DPS'd. Like, if they just don't have the tank set up on them properly, or the destroyer has a strong tank, you're just gonna it's gonna hurt really bad. They're designed to kill you. But no meaning says.
Sorry, I was just looking up. Yeah, that was a hook bill that we went up against. So
oh yeah,
yep. We took out.
Kaldari Navy hook bill.
You got the kill shot. That's what it was.
That was
I'm like, really? I took him down like 99%. You like,
I
hit him once, I got the final kill. Like,
come in,
no
finish
solo,
him.
No final shot. This thing's frozen, but I don't know. I owe you. You got me into faction warfare. Your podcast, this podcast, was like, kind of gave me a place to go, kind of learn, another aspect of EVE I wasn't aware of, and I said I've just really been enjoying it, and like I said, getting in with the guys with the Gal Mill, so I've loved it. I mean, those guys have been great. So, and they let me screw up, so I appreciate that too. No, you die. Go get into the ship and come back. Like,
yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, Noir's kind of a little. We don't, because we track our losses, So when you're on contract, you can't be losing ships that cost more than what the payout of the contract is.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, Alec is. He's not happy with that when you make us look bad. So.
Yeah, with us, it's just like, if you lost it, that's your problem. Like, lose every ship you possibly can.
Yeah, we
I
follow the numbers. Like I said, it's a different standard that we're held to, and rightfully so. You know?
yeah, no, I mean it's a different, yeah, it's a different game that Noir is playing. You know, it's
Yeah.
they are
I just gotta
mercenaries.
bring up, we had a contract recently. It was just to harass somebody, and so it was I just because they were talking so much salt in local. Yeah, it was just hilarious because I would come in like a bomber and just cloak off of their station. And so they're just taunting me like, "Oh, advanced PvP, yeah, you guys are so great." And I'm like, "Yeah, but you're not out mining or you're not out doing exploration. All right, you guys are sitting here and you're just, in your ships, just waiting for me to uncloak. And I ain't gonna. So you ain't doing what you're doing." So it was just, it was an interesting contract. It's fun. I really like that aspect of the war. But again, two different worlds, two different aspects of the game, two different game styles. Um,
Yeah,
but
it's
both
kind of what
fun.
makes Eve so crazy is because it is so big, it's so different comparatively to, there's you can do completely different things in this game that are, wormhole life is very different than living in known space. Living in 0.0
Yeah.
very different than low sec, very different from high sec. Like each one of these things have their different things, but then even then inside of it, a null secker, there might be somebody who just does planetary interaction and building shit and hauling shit, and that's their entire life. They never do any PvP oriented type kind of stuff. Some will maybe do moonlighting in PvP. Some people are just hardcore PvPers, or some people are just hardcore explorers. Like there's this you can do so many different things in Eve and never actually touch. Like I've never done any contract or mercenary work in my 15 years of playing Eve Online. Like
Yeah, definitely an exciting aspect of the game. But again, it's sometimes those things I'll log in and like, okay, what character am I gonna get in and what am I gonna do? And sometimes I do nothing. I log in, get my daily award, and just like, I've got 45 minutes before I gotta go to work or whatever. Get the kids off to practice. Um, what are you gonna do? There's so much to do, and sometimes you don't do anything. It's Murphy's law, right? So,
yeah, no, and
um,
that is one thing actually that I feel like faction warfare actually has a good solution to the, like, you only have 15-25 minutes to go play Eve Online. Just go run a Plex, and
yeah,
you go do one Plex. Maybe you get a fight, maybe you get some LP, and especially with the way that front lines are working out, you'll get a decent amount of LP if you do it in a dangerous spot. But it's dangerous, so it's very possible in 10 minutes you might get a fight. Like, and that is one of the instant gratification things that, like, League of Legends and all that kind of gives you, where it's like, it's only going to be a 20-minute long fight. You're going to go in, you're going to do this, and but Eve Online has the much higher high, I think, and the lower low. Like, if you just complete the site, you got some ISK, it's not that great. If you got the fight and you lost, you have a much bigger low. And then if you got the fight and you won, it's got this, like, huge fucking high that you're like, ah.
yeah, I thought, yeah, absolutely. Going from that white knuckle moment to victory, it's uh, one of the best feelings I think you can get, and especially in a video game. And no other video game I've ever played has that like Eve does.
Yeah, I've
Like,
gotten
I've mining
really
is fun.
excited
I've got
about
stuff I'll
shooting
do.
people, or stuff like that, but
Yeah, like call it. Yeah, you play Call of Duty. Okay, whatever. My guy can die 1,000 times. He usually does. Some 12-year-old's kicking my ass. You get it. So, and that's fine. But yeah, you don't. You just don't get that thrill. You don't get that rush that Eve can bring to you. So that's why I'm gonna keep playing this game for a while. Hopefully they'll keep the lights on for us.
I think that there's still life in Eve. I think it's I don't know what the critical low on what it needs to keep the server going and make things profitable. That Eve is a profitable game, but I feel like Eve is likely to be a profitable game for a long time. Whether it's making the handover fit, like, I mean, like, Eve has made a lot of money for CCP. Like, they have squandered that money on many, many, many different projects. And some of, maybe they would have been payoff projects and stuff like that. I don't know all of the funding money and what cost what, or what was actually profitable or not. But I feel like most things that they have made have not made profit, if any, and Eve has made an insane amount of profit.
I think that's the nature of video games in themselves. If you're going to be a video game manufacturer, yeah, maybe your game hits, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it doesn't hit today, but who knows? You know what? What happens later. And
Yeah.
he's just had the tenacity to kind of stick around. And I'm hoping after going to Vegas, we kind of have a bump. There'll be a little bit more life. A couple of these changes. That's my hope. That we get a little rebound.
Yeah.
Vegas. So
I think I'm that'll be about the time that Heraldry comes out. I'm really looking forward to November, when they actually come out with front lines. That's going to be a huge one.
Yeah, hopefully that mechanic works well. Like I said, on paper, it seems like it's going to be nice, but there's unintended consequences.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, it sounds like they're not going to be coming out with the allegiance system until January of next, like first quarter next year, January, February, or March.
Yeah, that was what Brisk was talking about. It might be sometime in even as late as March until they actually set a date on it. And that's the other thing.
And that's the more complicated one.
They will stick to that date. If they don't put a date on it, then it could be any time.
And it could be never, because who knows? Because those are the inherent, like you said, it's going to be something that is going to be talked about a lot and argued about how are the players going to manipulate the ability to join a faction without joining faction warfare. Will it, maybe I wouldn't be surprised if they make it so that it doesn't actually get you PvP status, but it gets you PvE activities and stuff like that put you in the war zone, make it more likely for you to be attacked by different sides and stuff like that.
Space, man. Yeah. That's
what
they want.
Get you in space and stuff like that it won't actually be full. Like, to do all of the faction warfare stuff, you have to join faction warfare. To do plexing and faction warfare missions, you would have to join faction warfare. But there'll be these other missions that you don't need to be in faction warfare, but you have to be signed up for the allegiance. That's the one thing I could see. There's a lot of, but just being able to moonlight in faction warfare has its unintended consequences. They're going to talk about that a lot. But they're giving us the frontline system, which and that's coming in November, and that's the one that I really think is going to, I like the idea that I think there's going to be a lot of hashing out and trying to figure out how to best do the allegiance system, but the frontline system is what will, I think, save faction warfare. And I really think will bring a whole new light to the concept of how you play in faction warfare. It's going to be much more about being in the standing fleets, having people participate and help with you. You can do solo, but you're not going to be off in the middle of nowhere making a ton of solo LP. If you're going to be doing the solo stuff, you're going to be in the danger of being ganked or by a bunch of people, or having solo people come and kick your ass. So,
that would be a recommendation I would have. Anybody who wants to get into faction warfare, you get started up. Don't try to go solo. I mean, you can, but if you really want to be engaged and have an impact, get into one of the corps. Get into the Gal Mill fleets, or the one of the other ones. But I don't know why you want to be in any other group other than Galente. But get into them and get part of those fleets, just as they run pretty often. Get in their Discord.
Yeah, they normally have standing fleets going,
I just, they're kind of new to that. I said I've been doing faction warfare for a couple of months. But that was just an aspect of faction warfare I didn't get into. And now that I've been exposed to it, I'm like, oh, this is a real way to, again, be interactive, and have an influence. I mean, you're blowing up more ships, you're taking more complexes. You can actually have a larger impact in faction warfare as a whole.
Yeah,
by being part of the groups. So
before we switch over to the talking about what happened in the month of August. Do you have any like special projects or anybody that you want to give a shout out to that is doing cool ass crazy projects out there? Any shout outs or anything that you want to talk about? Kind of like give the spotlight to you. What are you doing? Who are you? What do you want to promote out there, or who do you want to promote?
Well, I hate Noir, so I don't want to promote those guys at all. But no, definitely, I love my brothers in Noir. Alexia Carr, like I said, he busts his hump. You know, in real life and in this game, he's been a part of it for a long time. His podcast, Declaration of War, just again is one of those things that kept me in this game when I thought maybe I'd walk away. So I'll always be thankful for those guys for that. But as far as personal projects, I really don't have too much I'm working on specifically. I started, because I've got other video games. My other thing is doing restoration. I'm sure you've seen YouTube videos and stuff out there where somebody finds some old toy or an axe or something, and they polish it up, and so that's a hobby I've been into for a while.
That's pretty cool.
But I don't have a lot of videos. I actually bought a new mic.
Oh yeah, real solid streamer mic. Oh, what's that? The box for it? Oh, I think I lost your audio.
Oh,
there
no,
we
there
go.
you go.
There you go.
So no, that's so we got all professional. So I started like doing all these plans to try to get into a podcast, and it just never happened. And something I think we're talking about pre-show too is like how many, or maybe I was just talking to myself. I can't remember.
No, yeah, we brought that.
But
up
how many podcasters out there that aren't podcasting anymore? You know, the guys from Low Life, Less Than 10, Jade Cougar, just guys I've been listening to like since I started playing the game. And again, putting out a podcast is so much work, as you know.
Yeah.
And it's just a shame these guys are kind of not there for me. You know, I work overnights. I depend on these podcasts to keep me awake, keep me engaged. And so when there's fewer and fewer Eve podcasts out there, it's you know, something that affects me personally. Like I said, I'm involved in this game. I've pulled this game into me. I've made it part of me in these 2 years.
Yeah, it's like I know even if I don't play Eve, I'm going to be reading the news and listening to podcasts and reading the Reddits and everything like that. Like I've always got to know what the hell is going on in this game because it's so player driven. Like I heard that there's a bunch of stuff going on in World of Warcraft, and I've been playing even Final Fantasy online. It's been really fun, and I like the story and stuff. But I'm not going to read about this. I'm just going to play the story, and then I will know it, and I don't need to like.
Yeah, definitely a big difference between this and any other game I've had or been a part of. Like, I don't watch Twitch streams of people playing Call of Duty. Never have, but Eve, every day I'm watching somebody play.
Yeah.
Even if I'm just coming in and I'll just like, oh, I'm gonna go shoot some rats. You know, I'll click into your stream. I'll click into INN or I don't want to give anybody else a shout out, but or I'll go back and I'll watch old Federation front lines, rewatch them, and learn stuff I forgot that I knew. So
it happens to me all the time.
But yeah, I definitely love the content out there, and was actually talking with someone in my corp, Zero Cool, love that guy too. And he's someone that kind of brought it up. He's like, well, why don't you make the podcast you would want to listen to? And so it was like great advice. And so I've been playing with the thing in my head. So again, I don't know if it'll ever happen, but I've got some ideas out there of kind of short stories and that kind of stuff based on my own personal experiences in the game. And again, don't know if anybody else would want to listen to it, but it might be something that I'd want to hear. So
yeah, I think that's a great advice for podcasters and video game makers and stuff like that. A lot of the times it's make something that you would want to listen to, or make something that you would want to read, make something that you would want to play as a video game. You know, these are that because one, you'll be passionate about it, you're making it. A lot of the times it's pretty unique because it's something that you wanted, and then people find out that they wanted it, you know, and
Yeah.
it's been a lot of fun. Like that's one thing that I've always wanted to do, a faction warfare podcast. I've always wanted to do some kind of like news kind of podcast, and for a long time I didn't know how to do any of that shit. I didn't know anything really about audio or recording, or you know what stuff you needed, the software you needed, or how to edit shit, and now I know a bunch of that stuff. But I've learned all of it because I wanted to make something that I wanted to make.
Yeah, I've made a couple of videos. One, we were on contract with CalMill, and so I did a video with that. I'm actually pretty proud of that one. But it was a matter of downloading the program, learning how to use the program, learning how to put the videos and stuff together, learning how to do the overlays, learning how to get music in there that's not going to get me banned.
Yeah.
And so and I've kind of loved that aspect of it. Again, like Eve, you know, it's that learning cliff that you have to just kind of jump off of, and once you embrace it and make it part of you, then it's, you know, it's that much more enjoyable. And I've kind of gotten into that with the video editing. Now I just need the material to put in to make some Eve videos from. I need to get out there and blow some stuff up and have some images people might actually like to look at.
Yeah, no, I've finally, I think, got to the point where I've got a built up of that. Now I have this backlog of all of this like videos that I need to go over and be like, okay, find the fight. Which is why, like, whenever you see me streaming, I always put like how many fights and kills and deaths that I've had, so that I could quickly zoom through the video and get to like, oh, the number went up by 1. What happened? Who died? What? Okay, there's that 30 seconds of battle that happened. All right, we'll clip that out and make something out of that. Because, like, you know, sometimes that's the only thing I don't like about Eve streaming is that I feel like sometimes for me when it's like PvP, I'm just sitting around for like 30 minutes, like talking, shooting the shit.
Yeah, what do I babble about? I mean, I don't have a problem with babbling, but you know, what do I babble about for 30 minutes while actually something filmable happens? So,
right.
I was actually trying to get my wife into helping me out. She's got a.
I'm trying to do that too.
My wife worked in radio. She's a brilliant and beautiful woman, but she paid her way through college being a radio DJ.
Oh.
And so she's got that background of reading commercials and doing that, and so I'm like, well, I says, there's people out there with lore and stuff that they just need a woman to read it.
Yeah.
So we can get into that. So I kind of talked her into the mic and the mixer, you know, off of that. So we'll see if I can ever do it. If I can ever get her away from her studies. She's a PhD, so she.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, at least
that's a lot of work.
So, yeah. Well, she's already got her doctorate, so she's putting it to work now.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'm hoping I can kind of harness her talent and see if I can, maybe we can have a husband-wife team of
there you
stuff.
go.
Again, I says, I'll write it, you read it, I'll put up the video, and you know, make it.
Yeah, that sounds like the easy
I hope
part.
It happens. we'll hope it happens.
Yep.
If I can get off these overnight shifts, that would be a big change. So I'm on vacation tonight. Otherwise, I'd be at work right now. So I'm like, hey, Frost said he could have me on the stream. I'm taking a vacation.
All right. So let's go ahead and we're going to do a little switch over here to the stats of each one of the factions for faction warfare. We're just going to do like a really quick breakdown here of the stats and kind of talk about them a little bit. See the that loaded. Sorry, just making things a bit smoother here, hopefully. By making it not so smooth right now. Come on. Why aren't you loading?
It's me. I screwed up your stuff. I spent the last hour babbling about nothing.
It's broken. It's all broken. Yeah, it might be Zekiel being kind of cranky right now. Why is... Let me just get to Z-Kill. Is Z-Kill coming up for you?
It was. Let me see if I can get any more.
It's coming up with like a blank page for me. Able to go anywhere else in the galaxy? Huh.
I did have it up, and maybe that's why it was working, but yeah, I just tried to go on myself, and now it's not, so.
Interesting. Well,
Third-party content, what the hell?
I've got Galente, Keldari, and Minmatar stats that we can go over then real quick. And we'll see if by the time that we get to the Amar, if maybe the kill board is working again. So let's go ahead and just jump on over. Laptop screen big. Here we go. Alright, so looking at the Galente Federation for the month of August. So we actually had one hell of a, so for all the talk about death, the death of EVE Online and how nobody's going around shooting each other at all, and the numbers are really low, faction warfare for the Galente has actually been better the last July and August than it's ever been for the last, just the amount of people that they've killed since 2020 October. So in 2020 we had October, they had 10,000 kills, 10,230 kills in 2020 of October. Now we are at the highest points that we've had. With July was a little bit higher with the 9,894 kills, but August had 9,436 kills. So this is a pretty solid amount of death and destruction. I mean, there's 4,700 points worth, 686 billion ISK worth of damage, and all with only losing 5,842, losing 224 billion ISK worth for 75% efficiency, 75.3% efficiency. I do have to say that there is a lot of opportunity to go out and shoot in faction warfare at this point. Jordan says Z-Kill is Z-Kill. Also, hey Macros, how's it going?
Yeah, you brought that up last month, or last time you went through this, and again, like, people want to talk about how EVE is dying or whatever, but these numbers are going to tell me the opposite. So in the last, we have just as many or more people getting killed, in the last month than they were 2 years ago. So if we keep up at this pace, again, maybe it's just people's play style has got to change a little bit.
I think that a lot of playstyles have been hurt. 0.0 has been hurt really bad. I do think the ADM type stuff with low payout for ratting, nobody putting out carriers and super carriers and stuff like that. There's just no reason to, besides like fighting each other, there's no reason to go out into space in 0.0. But I do think that there is a healthy amount of PvP that is happening in EVE still. It's just different.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah, I think it's those capital ship fights that aren't happening, and which is okay because I don't capital ship fight. But if that's what you're into, I mean, and I know there are a lot of people who are. They've been playing this game for almost 20 years, and they want to fight capitals and they want to blow stuff up. And, maybe that. And again, I'm hoping things will change around. I'm hoping they can get that gameplay back for them. I mean, good for them. I won't be a part of it, but if that's what they want to do, great. But like I said, I'm in the small gang and the faction warfare kind of stuff. So
yeah, I've liked the big 500, 600 man fights. They're kind of fun, but they're usually like 4 or 5 hour long super slugfest type kind of stuff. And I think the low sec, no tie-dye, fights that are happening every day in the early, easily between 10 and 20 people just slugging out against each other, standing fleets of just random, like, you don't see people. I mean, there is like a call for logi to a certain degree depending on what the fight is and what's going on, but a lot of fleets are we're just a kitchen sink trying to take as many plexes as possible, and when we hear somebody call out that there's like 3 or 4 guys over here, we get as many people as we possibly can as quickly as we can to go flood in and try and assist and fight that fight, and you're just jumping all over the place. It's a blast. So
I'm not a big fan of the tie-dye fights. Been in a couple of them, but it's just, am I alive? Am I dead? Am my guns even on? I don't know. And again, I just don't know if that's enjoyable. Hey, if that's enjoyable to you, then great, keep doing that. But again, I'm part of the small gang.
I do feel like there's a lot of small gang stuff still happening in EVE Online, and that's good.
Yeah, I think that's still strong.
That's
going to
be
the numbers are showing
strong.
it. That's been my experience. We can find fights. They're just not capital fights.
Yeah. Yeah, so Caldari, let's switch over to them here real quick. So in August, they got 12,716 kills. So that is the best that they've had all year. You don't have to go back to 2020, but in 2021, it was September of 2021, since they've had as many kills as they had this month, or the month of August. They did 1.2 trillion ISK worth of damage. And one of the big things with this is that they do have a lot more people. So just in general, compared to the Galente, they have a lot more people, and it's not necessarily this isn't what Caldari have killed Galente, it's what they've just killed in general. So there's always people to fight and people to kill in faction warfare that are not faction warfare oriented. And 1.2 trillion compared to so let's see, the Galente had 768 million. So, not quite, but almost double what we had in damage.
I'm looking at this month so far. I don't know what we've been blowing up, but even the Galente they said it's not even halfway through the month. And it's September 11th, so shout out to all my first responders out there. We love you guys. Yeah, the Galente are already at almost 1.1. So we're not even halfway through the month, and they've almost matched their numbers from last month. So
so
Galente's the same way. So we're blowing some shit up out there.
So already, this month the Galente have over what they blew up last month. In fact, they've had the best month so far. It's only 11 days in, and it's they've have 768 billion ISK worth of damage already in September here. The Galente already at 1.09. There's been some murder in September here as well. So the Galente
would be a very, very costly month for both sides.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in general, they're not losing that much. I mean, only 126 billion this month. So last month they've had 10,000 deaths, and they had 295 billion ISK lost. So basically, their rounding error is their losses. So 1.2 trillion ISK, they basically had an efficiency of 80.2%. So the Caldari are out there. If you join the Caldari, you've got the shit to shoot. There's stuff to fight out there, stuff to be had.
They've got the numbers. They've been outnumbering us in most of the larger fleets. They said you can go 1-on-1, 1-on-3, in your stabber, but you're gonna have that 20-man fleet right behind them.
Yeah, to give you an example, like the Caldari have. Oh, my puppy wants to play. Characters. In the last 7 days, they've had 519 characters. Galente is at 295. So these are characters that are not necessarily enrolled in faction warfare. They're definitely enrolled in faction warfare, but they have to have been on a kill or a loss to be counted in this number. So 295 players that are the Gallente have lost a ship or killed a ship in the last 7 days. The Caldari have 519 players that have lost or killed a ship. So not quite double the amount of Gallente, but pretty damn close.
Yeah.
Let's go to take a look at the Minmatar. So the Minmatar have had a little bit of a rougher month, actually. So the Minmatar Warzone, I've heard, has cooled down a lot more. The Minmatar have gone from being like top dog, like they were at tier 5 for a good amount of time, and had tier 4 for an insane amount of time. They have been brought down. They are now tier 1 right now and are taking some pretty heavy hits. So they they killed 5,873 people, and then they have inflicted 485.93 billion ISK, so 486 billion ISK worth of damage. The losses that they took were actually really close to the amount of kills that they had, which was 4,318. They had still a great efficiency rating at only losing 164 billion ISK. So they had a 74% efficiency rating, but they've lost a lot of probably smaller, cheaper ships that run, and definitely, you know, comparatively to the Gallente, I believe that I just said what we had, but what was that? So the Gallente had, yeah, so 9,436 kills compared to the Minmatar's 5,873, and they've only had, they do have a lot more ISK that they're destroying this month, but they still only have 1,734 kills. So a little bit rougher of a month for the Minmatar. Our Minmatar brothers need help. I mean, they're fighting the slave traders, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, I hope we can pull up the MR numbers, because these Minmatars, you can just see this slide that's been happening since March with them. Just the numbers keep kind of going down, little spike there in July.
there we go. So we were able to get the MR numbers to pull up here.
I'm hoping that's something they fix out with this thing, is how the Gallente and Minmatar can fight as a unit and have it kind of work, you know, towards them. Like maybe
that will be interesting to see if they have.
If that mechanic comes in there. I know it was hinted about, but I don't know if Aurora can actually do it. I don't know how that would work. But,
yeah. Well, we'll see.
It would be interesting if we could. Yeah, if we could team up and actually get credit and scores for it.
So the Amar for the month of September, for the month of August, looks like they had 6,441 kills. That puts them at 669 billion ISK worth of damage, which isn't that much more than what they've had normally for this month, or for this year. Some of the times they've bopped up into 8,000. The Minmatar as well have been down since like April, but prior to that they were pretty constantly hitting about 7,000, 6,000, and 8,000, 9,000. But the Amar have just kind of stayed pretty steady at about 6,000 to 8,000 kills that they would get every month.
Yeah, they've been pretty solid for the last 2 years from the numbers.
They did have more loss. Oh no, they had close to more losses. Similar, the Mar and Minmatar Warzone is definitely less active, as you can see, for sure. But they also do kill each other a lot more. It does seem like, because like the Gallente and the Amar had a lot less losses, right? So the Amar.
Yeah, they're about half from what it looks like. Okay, 600 bill compared to a trillion.
So like I guess the Gallente are the one that seem to lose a lot less ships than they kill. So they killed, like, you know, almost 10,000. They lost almost 6,000. But the Amar, you know, they lost about 12,000, 13,000, and they lost, or killed about 12,000, 13,000, and they lost about 10,000. The Minmatar very close at like 5,800 to 4,300 losses, and the Amar also same thing, you know, like 64,000 or 6,400 versus 6,100. But their efficiencies are pretty good, whereas the Galent are all kind of the same. The Amar are the one, or sorry, the Caldari are the ones that have really good efficiency, 80% efficiency compared to the standard like 75% efficiency for the Galente, 74 for the Amar, 72 for the Amar, 74 for the Minmatar. Interesting. So last thing though that we wanted to talk about is go ahead and check out the new Uprising is going to be our new major expansion. I'm not. Hey, hold on. My puppy.
Oh, someone wants to play. They don't want.
Yeah.
They don't want to be in the Eve right now.
Almost.
But yeah, definitely love the new trailer. The artwork in this trailer is fantastic. A big shout out to the graphics department for putting that together. And again, I hope the content is as good as the graphics.
Yeah, they do have some cool graphics, and that's going to be coming. So the one thing that I want to just touch here is, so they just talk about, so the new ships will be uncovered through the arcs that are happening right now, which the Caldari and Amar are kicking ass in their arcs, and we're getting rough. I mean, it's all about owning a solar system, so they've been really pushing to win their arc over. Then comes, so that's happening in September, though, is going to be arcs about new ships on the battlefield. Then they've got in October that there will be significant audio, visual, and UI elements are going to be enhanced. There's the new UI that they're going to be bringing out, and so Eve is getting a pretty big makeover in October, and then the frontline system will be happening in November.
And I'm all about graphics and UI updates and that kind of stuff too, but as long as there's the content to go with it, yeah, the content's got to keep coming. Or they're going to keep losing players.
Yeah, I think, you know, one of the big things was that $20 price hike was really a very odd move, if you ask me. And again, if it could be tied in, I don't mind paying $20 for my first character, but I shouldn't have to pay for all my characters. And so they are giving
that second thing. But yeah, and I'm hoping the CCP guys have said that there should be an update to that where, yeah, your extra characters will be cheaper. They're going to have the automatic renewal for your multiplayer character sheets, which good because I always forget to update my marketer who does my market and transport.
Yep.
I always forget hers, and so yeah, I'm hoping they can do that to auto buy that. But yeah, if like the more characters you had, the cheaper it would be for you. I would again, I have 5. I don't know if I'm going to keep 5. But if it were advantageous to have more, I would definitely use a 6th or 7th. I could use 2 more characters.
You could always use 2 more.
Right. Again, a couple of PI planets can pay themselves off. So in the long run, especially with, you know, my industrialist, she is still building stuff. So I need some PI.
Yeah. Awesome.
Always got to have construction blocks. Always in water. So.
All right, so I think we're going to go ahead and wrap things on up here. Thank you, Nightflyer, for hanging out with me, talking about your experiences in Eve. It was some awesome stories. Really looking forward to this expansion that's coming out. As you can see from the Faction Warfare update, plenty of people to go out there and murder. So, but thank you so much for being on the show, man.
Absolute pleasure. Anytime. Would love to come back if you ever need anybody to babble incoherently for an hour. I can be more than happy to do it.
Hey man, we'll have to talk. But yeah, so anybody else that's listening, if you're interested in joining up with the war effort, always put in an application into Golden Age Stories. alt spies, welcome. We don't give a fuck. Just come out and play with us. Let's go out and murder people. If you didn't catch the show live, we do it every Sunday at 2200 Eve time. That's about 5 p.m. Central time. If you did miss the show live, you can always watch us or listen to us on our podcast, the Federation Frontline Report. We do have a video podcast out there. You can get that on Spotify, iTunes. We also post on YouTube. We're live on Twitch on the Golden Age Stories channel, Golden Age Stories on YouTube, and Federation Frontline Report if you look for us on Spotify, iTunes, or any of the podcast distributors out there. Eve Echo, thank you so much for the follow. So we're going to go ahead and wrap things on up here, though. Also, if you have any news that you want us to talk about on the show, after action reports, stuff like that, make sure to jump onto our Discord. We put out a link out there for our Discord. You can also email me Frozen Fallout in game, or hit us up at the Federation Frontline Report at gmail.com. That's spotty times that we check that, but we're always on Discord. I'm always going to be checking my email, so hit me on up. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching. Thank you, Nightflyer, for coming on, and have a great night.